Let's see the first process in integration management knowledge area. The first process name is develop project charter. A project charter is basically a document that formally authorizes the existence of project and provides the project manager with authority to apply resources to project activities. The charter serves three specific benefits. The first one is it provides a link between the project and organization's strategic objectives. Once you prepare the project charter, it can be clearly understood how the project objectives and the organization strategic objectives are aligned. The second benefit of the project charter is it creates a formal record of the project. That means it works like um, a blueprint for the project and which becomes a reference document for the entire project lifecycle. The third biggest advantage is it ensures the stamping of the organization commitment to the project, something like a visa or your passport. So once the project charter is signed, it says the organization leadership has the commitment to support the project execution and achieve the objectives. When we see this process, as we have said earlier, each process in the project management practice has three elements. One is input, second one is tools and techniques, and the third one is output. So this slide gives a bird's eye view of the input, output, and the tools and techniques. You can see this process is the first process in the project integration management knowledge area. So there are totally 7 processes under project integration management knowledge area, and this is the first process. And if you look from the perspective of the process groups, this is the first process under initiating process group. So this is the first of the 2 processes in the under initiating process group, and this is the first process out of the 7 processes under project integration management knowledge area. So this should be understood because when we want to know when this process will be deployed or applied, we should know that this is a part of the integration management knowledge area, and typically this is deployed when during the initiating process group. So the process name is develop project charter. So there is a number given 4.1. So this specifies the first process. First number 4 depicts integration management knowledge area, and the second number after the decimal refers to the process name number or the process sequence under the same knowledge area. So 4 talks about integration management knowledge area, and 1 says that this is the first process in the integration management knowledge area. The name of the process is develop project charter. And let's go one by one. What are the inputs required for this process? What are the tools and techniques we can adopt? And what are the outputs we expect to get from this process? So let's go to the first, the inputs. The inputs for this process are, there are 4 inputs. The first one is business documents, like the business case. The second one is the agreements. Third one is enterprise environmental factors. And fourth one is organizational process assets. So we'll go one by one. in detail. The first input for developing the project charter is business document. Business documents like business case. Business case is one of the business document, and also business benefits management plan is one more business document. So these two documents basically provides information about what should be the objectives of the project and how the achieving objectives of the project contribute for the business goals of the organization. So the business case document has to be of an approved document by the right stakeholder, and it is used to develop the project charter. It gives you the information from business standpoint of view, and uh, also determine what should be the expected outcome from the project to justify the investment made on the project. It is used, the business case is used for decision making by managers or the leaders above the project level. So once it is approved by the right stakeholders like the project, the executives and the managers above the project, then that becomes an input for the developing project charter. And these business case are typically created because of the few business expectations or business reasons like market demand, or because of technological advance in the domain in their market, customer requests, or ecological impacts, social needs, and so on. Like in a market demand, if you are manufacturing a product and the market is developing fast, and you want to get a new model of the vehicle or the product, then you create a new business case stating that by changing the or developing a new product, what are the benefits the organization can get, both financially and also in terms of the market value. So those information will be captured in the business case, and which will be clearly uh, captured with numbers and data. So this is an essential part of the input for developing the project charter. Or sometimes you may have to work on the organizational needs. You want to reduce costs, or you want to do the realignment of the organization. Then also you can start a project, initiate a project. So in that case, you will have a business case by doing the realignment. What are the benefits you are going to get, and those information will be taken care before I start the project charter. As I said, project charter is basically a blueprint. So before preparing the blueprint, I have the right inputs like why I need to go for a realignment of the organization and what is expected from the project. Or it could also be customer requests. So many times customers comes with the new requirements or different requirements from the current operational services or operational products. Then you might have to start a new project. So you start with the business case and find out the information data, and that can be translated as an outcome for the project. So like this, business case becomes a very essential input for developing a project charter. So we take the appropriate information from the business documents and incorporate in the project charter. And this business documents will be owned by someone apart from the project manager. So this is just an input. So we take the input from the business document and make our project charter. So it is basically translating the requirement from the business case to the project charter is the job of the project manager. There are some cases where a project manager can still give a feedback to the stakeholders based on his observation of the business document and also the right way of capturing the project charter. The second input for the project charter, preparation of project charter is agreements. Agreements are basically the initial intention for the project. So it could be in the form of contract, it could be MOUs, memorandum of understanding, or it could be SLAs, service level agreements, or letter of intents, LOI, or letter of agreements, or email, or any verbal communication, and so on and so forth. So these agreements should be in place before we document the project charter. The third input for the process develop project charter is enterprise environmental factors. These all are factors which can influence the project execution and project outcome. And some of the factors of enterprise environment are the industry standards, or we can call it as the legal and regulatory requirements, or we can call it as the constraints. So legal requirements are basically which are all stipulated by the state. That means for every country, the government stipulates some of the norms to be adhered with to execute any activity inside the organization, keeping in view of the overall condition or the norms of the country. So, for example, if you're doing a project and the government stipulates all the components manufactured for automotive automobile industry should comply with some standards, or they might say you should not employ a particular resource or a person from a specific country because of various diplomatic and diplomatic and statutory requirements. So that should be considered before we come up with the project charter. So that is about the legal requirements or legal constraints. Same thing, we have regulatory requirements and constraints, which are all particular for a particular to an industry. So, like if the project is oriented towards developing a product for a specific market, specific industry, then we may have to abide by some of the standards like CE standards or UL standards or ISA standards, BS standards, or it could be like if it is an aerospace company, if you are in aerospace business, then you are supposed to be comply with AS 9100 requirements. So these all are domain specific requirements, which can also be called as a regulatory requirements. So we need to consider these things as inputs for developing the project charter. So apart from that, for enterprise environmental factors, we should also give attention to the marketplace conditions. Like if you're operating in a specific market, then you should take care of some of the things. Might be safety kind of stuff, hazardous issues, or child labor, many of these things. And also the when we are executing a project, so we are operating within a given organization limits. So we should be sensitive for the organizational culture and political climate too before we come up with the project charter. So this factor is also a valuable input before we start working on developing the project charter. The next enterprise environmental factor is the framework of the organizational governance. That means how the whole the project team has to work, and what kind of controls they have within the organization, what kind of matrix they follow for work allocation, and what should be the coordination, and what should be the policies we need to adhere to. Like, I mean, you're supposed to work within so much of stipulated time. You cannot work beyond some stipulated hours. You cannot work on holidays, and you cannot pressurize someone to work from home. So many aspects we need to look into with respect to the organizational governance framework. And last one and very important is, we should also ensure that the stakeholder expectations and risk thresholds are considered before we come up with the project charter. So these are the some of the factors which we need to consider under enterprise environmental factors as an input for developing the project charter. Then we move on to the fourth input for the process developing the project charter. So the fourth one is organizational process assets. Organizational process assets are basically to execute this process, that is the process name developing project charter. We have to consider the existing assets, process assets with respect to the organization. So we should be aware of the prevalent organizational standard policies, processes, and procedures. So typically these all are defined in their Apex manual. It's also called as Apex manual, and it is called in different names in different domains. But overall QMS part, you can call it as an Apex manual or quality manual, which prescribes the guidelines for um, the on the policies and how the process to be developed and how the procedures should be written. So these things should be also considered and taken as an input for developing the project charter. Apart from that, so each company will have their own way of executing the program or their project or their portfolio. So we should be aware of those, and we should adhere to those frameworks before coming the project charter. And also monitoring and reporting methods. Typically, this can also be part of the program and project management governance. And templates, again, it is as per the quality manuals. So, or sometimes the organization will have a specific template for coming up with a project charter. So that should be considered as the input. And very importantly, learning from mistakes. That means we should have enough historical information and lessons learned repository within the organization, so that that will give us the advantage of succeeding in the project, or increasing the probability of success in the project. So which will also typically these are all like case studies which are all prepared after the previous completion of previous projects, or information about the results, impact of the project outcome, and how the projects were selected, and how the project performed overall. So these are the inputs which certainly help us to come up with a robust and effective project charter. So these are the inputs. We talked about four inputs for the process develop project charter, which we need to ensure in place before we start the or apply the tools and techniques for executing the process. Once we have the required inputs in place, then we can start developing the project charter, and we can use multiple tools and techniques to achieve the same. So as we have discussed the four inputs for to start developing the project charter or business documents, the agreements. Third one is enterprise environmental factors. And fourth one, organizational process assets. So once we have all these things, then we can sit together and start preparing the project charter. So to do this activity of developing the project charter, PMI has come out with some of the tools and techniques which enable us to do a good job or a decent job in developing the project charter. So let's see these tools and techniques. The first one is the expert judgment. So what is an expert judgment? Judgment given by an expert. Okay, so who is an expert? So we'll club these two and understand what is the expert judgment. So expert judgment is basically a judgment provided by an expertise in in a specific area and or the knowledge area and in the specific discipline and the industry as appropriate for the activity being executed in the project. That means an expert who has got a rich knowledge, both domain knowledge and the industry knowledge, and also who knows the uh, project management way of executing the job can be an expert. So this expertise can be provided either by a single person or it can be through a team of experts who have got a specialization in this specific field. So when expertise or we need to deploy experts from the industry, we need to consider some of the specific areas and the specific training for the below factors like the organization strategy, benefits management, technical knowledge of the industry, uh, on the budget estimations, schedule estimation, and risk management. That means when I say someone is an expert in a specific line of business or for this project, I should see what is his knowledge level and what kind of trainings he has undergone with respect to the strategic decisions and with respect to benefit management, technical knowledge, estimations, and on the risk management. So once we are through with this, the experts take the inputs from them and based on their inputs, we can start putting up the project charter. The second tool and technique is data gathering. The data gathering can be done in multiple ways. There are different techniques available for gathering the data. So those techniques are typically employed in or in the process of developing a project charter or brainstorming, focus groups, and interviews. There are there are a lot of other techniques also available, but predominantly these three could be handy when we start putting up the project charter. But if you feel there are other better techniques are available for gathering the data that can be still employed. So brainstorming is basically a technique used to get a list of ideas in a given period of time And what we do is, it is typically we collect all the people, or we gather everyone who are all the who can contribute for the project and who have got some information, and there'll be a facilitator. So the facilitator, what it does is, he will ask the team to generate the idea first and collect them and do the analysis. And when the analysis is done, we also ask for the solutions. Okay, what are the ideas and how it can be addressed, or how it can be met. So these subject matter experts, stakeholders, team members, so what they do is, they will collect all the ideas. I mean, we collect ideas from all these people, then we do an analysis. From there, we try to find how we can go about with the project. So that is basically brainstorming, which is more prevalent and most of the organization follows for many other activities. Second one is focus groups, which we are going to talk again in future. So basically, this is bringing together stakeholders and subject matter experts to know more on the perceived project risks, what could be success criteria, and other topics in more of a with a conversation or one-on-one interviews. So it is basically uh, intensive interaction, and you get the insights and informal uh, inputs from the subject matter experts. So this is basically a focus group, I mean activity for getting the data. Then we have interviews, where we speak to specific individuals who are all very difficult to get, or who are all engaged in many other activities, because uh, they have the constraint of coming for a common meeting or spending too much of time for these activities. Then we go and have one-on-one interview with them and collect the inputs from them at a high level perspective. And also sometimes some of the things which they cannot discuss or they cannot disclose during the with the team, that can be brought in as kind of like some of the assumptions we make, or some of the uh, extra care to be taken for the success of the project. So these three techniques, brainstorming, focus groups, and interviews, are predominantly used for gathering the data. The next technique is interpersonal team skills. So, which is quite obvious. It is required for any task we do in uh, current workplace, or anything we do in life. So, some of the interpersonal team skills which we need to have: conflict management, facilitation, and meeting management. So, these things are the some of the techniques we can leverage to come up with the developing the project charter. So obviously, when you start putting up the things on paper, so there will be a lot of ifs and buts. There will be there will be objections for many things. So then you should have a management skill to address the conflicts among the different stakeholders, so that you get their alignment on the objectives, on the success criterias, on the description of the project, milestones, and other elements of the project charter. The next one is the facilitation. Facilitation is the ability to effectively guide a group event to a successful decision, solution, or conclusion. That means a kind of you're not leading by but you're enabling the whole team to move towards the final goal by ensuring everyone participates, and everyone understands, okay, and also everyone contributes. So everyone should participate, everyone should understand this, everyone should contribute. within the team. And with that, so you arrive on the conclusions, and in between you may have to do also some moderation whenever there are, again, using the conflict management skills. You are going to moderate and ensure that you are achieving the final goal of preparing the project charter. The third skill is meeting management. We know, so meeting is something which many of us don't like, and especially the manager and above scale, rank, they say it's waste of time. So it's very essential for us to have a proper meeting management, so that we have the agenda in place before we start the meeting, and ensure everyone is participating in the meeting. If they are not available, it has been delegated to the right stakeholder, and preparing the minutes of meeting and the agreements, and sending up the follow-up minutes and actions, so that we are on dot and complete the task of creating the project or developing the project charter. So these all are the some of the interpersonal team skills. And the last one is the meetings. So the tools and techniques for developing project charter. The fourth technique is the meetings. So this is, I mean, I can say it's a combination of all the three above, wherein, I mean, we facilitate the whole meeting and we ensure everyone is participating, everyone is uh, understanding, everyone is contributing, everyone is agreeing for that. Apart from that, we should also to ensure that the meeting is focused towards identifying the project objectives, identifying all the success criteria, and agreeing on the key deliverables and milestone summary of the milestones and other summary information. So these are the tools and techniques which we have to leverage or deploy to complete the process of or activity of developing the project charter. So once we are we have done all this, we have used all these tools and techniques, we have a set of inputs, we have deployed tools and techniques, and we start working on preparing the project charter. So while we do all these things, we should also have a some deliverable as an output from the process. So I will say this, or I mean rather, the PMA says the process of developing a project charter is complete only if we are able to deliver some of the outputs, or there is a some outcome. So let us see what are these outcome expected from the process 4.1, developing project charter. The first deliverable or the first outcome of this process should be a project charter in place. So what is a project charter? Project charter is basically a document. This we should understand very clearly. It is not a product, it is not a physical item. I mean, it is not basically something you can use it for some application. It is basically a document, so which is typically um, developed or authored by the project initiator or a sponsor, and authorized by the sponsor. So the project charter, it is a document which is um, scribed by the project initiator and authorized by the project sponsor, which ensures the existence of the project, and also it will give an authority for the project manager to apply the organizational resources to project activities. So it is like a visa or a work permit. So with this project charter, you are communicating to all the stakeholders and all the project team members or the organization that I have an approval to initiate this project, and I can leverage the organizational resources to execute the project activities. So what what all it contains, the or what all details this document contains. Let's see those things. So the project charter typically documents a high level information of the project, and also it will tell what kind of outcome we are expecting from the project, whether it could be a product, it could be a service, or a result. These are the top level. But apart from that, it will contain the project purpose, why this project is initiated, and what are the measurable project objectives and their success criteria. What are the high level requirements? What are the high level project description? What are the assumptions? And what are the key deliverables? And it also talks about overall project risk at a top level, and the major milestones, summary of the milestones, and what is the approved financial resources by the organization. It also lists the key stakeholders, project approval requirements, that means what will be the project success, and who decides the project is successful, and who will sign of the project. And it also contains the project exit criteria. So in the condition, if we are not able to meet, or if you are able to meet, or if you want to cancel the project, so what will be the exit criteria, and assign project manager responsibility with and authority level, and name and authority of the sponsor who is authorizing the project charter. So a project charter contains all this information which should be signed off by the project initiator and the project sponsor. So the second output expected from this process is assumptions log. This is very important. The reason is when we start any project, it is most unlikely, many of the cases, we will not be sure about many of the aspects of the project, whether it could be on the inputs or on the outputs, or on the success criteria, or on the effectiveness, right? So for that, what we do, we cannot stop unless everything is perfect. I'll start the project. That I mean, the position we cannot take. So then, what we do is we go with some assumptions. We make some assumptions, both strategic and operational assumptions, or we can call as put some constraints for ourselves and go ahead with the project. So this assumptions log is basically the list of assumptions and constraints which are all identified in the business case before the project is initiated, and we'll get into the project charter. Apart from that, operational and task assumptions are also generated throughout the project, like some of the technical specifications we may not be clear, but we go with some assumptions, or the estimates. So we don't know exactly how much is the time estimate or the financial estimates, that we go with some assumption, or on the schedule and the risks. So this assumption log is used to have the all the assumptions and constraints listed for the project, which has to be revised throughout the project lifecycle. So this concludes the process number one under integration management process knowledge area, called develop project charter. So we talked about inputs, we talked about tools and techniques, and we talked about the outputs expected from this process.